up, y'all? Welcome to the Dope Life Podcast, the dopest podcast ever. And I'm, of course, your host, Coach AJ, Dope Life Coach, the dopest life coach ever. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you never miss another episode. And it could be also lovely and dope and leave us a rating and a review. We will greatly appreciate it so that our podcast could get out to dope individuals just like yourself. So today's episode I'm actually super excited about it. We have someone very near and dear. I got to meet this certain person last year while I was in school. Yes, your girl went back to school, but for a good reason at that. And I have not only a fellow coach, but also a mentor as well, Kelly Wood. Kelly, how are you doing today?
I'm so excited to be here. And something I love so much about you, AJ, is just the energy that you bring in to whatever space that you're in. So I'm so honored and stoked to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself?
Okay. I'm a mom. I'm a single mom. I have a teenage daughter, which is very emotional all of the time. Everything is great. And then it's very crazy as it goes. And on the professional side, I am a coach, and it is what I love to do actually more than anything else in the world. Like it truly is my calling. It's what I'm meant to do in this world. So I teach coaching and I mentor for the International Coach Federation certification. So that's at the Wise and Wonderful Canada Coach Academy, which I love. And then I have my own coaching business where I work with both like corporate teams and I work with individuals. A lot of those individuals tend to be women who are moving from one space in their lives to another. So it might be starting a family, getting married, leaving a job and finding a new one, retiring, like whatever those big transitions are where we really need to look at our lives and be like, okay, who am I in this? What do
Right.
I want in this? And, that is my favorite question in the world is, what do you want to create?
Hmm.
Don't you love that question?
I do. I think you hit on something so like it clicked immediately when you said it. Is like, coaching is like one of your favorite things to do in the world. It is really one of the greatest things to do in the world. And I love that part of my life. And I love the question aspects of how we get down to, like I say, the nitty gritty and ask people some really questions just to make them wonder and think beyond what we've been taught to think and
Yeah.
conditioned to think. Like open up the box a little bit, let it air out, and think about more. Let new and inspiring and lovely things to come in. I think that is ultimately like the biggest perk of being a coach, I will say, on my side. But thank you for coming in today. I do appreciate you taking the time. I just wanted to start off with some rest. Like let's talk a little bit about rest if you don't mind, and the importance of rest, because I think we live in a bit of a day and age where there's two sides of it. The hustle culture, which I think is slightly toxic, uh, and then there's also the side of where we feel almost guilty for resting. So how can we as women ourselves, like give ourselves permission to actually rest more?
This is such a big and relevant question. I just think it's so important right now because we are in a culture of burnout.
Yeah.
That is well known by now. And it has all to do with who our culture was before we went into the pandemic, all of
Yep.
the anxiety and stress that happened in the pandemic. And now what's happening as we're coming out of the pandemic and understanding that we were in big stress response. And
Yeah.
sometimes there's that delayed reaction to stress where everything feels safer and then we kind of fall apart.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
think right now, with my clients, with my corporate clients, the teams that I'm working with, I'm seeing big, big burnout, like whole teams, 8 or 10 people on a leadership team. And to a person, they're identifying as being burnt out, which
Yeah.
is really, that is rest, right? The antidote to burnout. Actually, in the very end of things, people are like, you should do this and you should do that and take a yoga class. Actually, it is rest that is needed.
Yeah.
So Can I share a quick story?
Absolutely.
So I was working for a big arts organization before the pandemic. I was working in a leadership institute within the arts organization.
Mhm.
And during the pandemic, we all got let go and the institutes shut down. And I had been a single mom for 10, 11 years at that point. I had a full time job and I had two side hustles. I was like
Wow.
going hard. And
Yeah.
what I was realizing is I would be driving from my job to go and pick up my daughter, and I would be gripped like on my steering wheel. I would have white knuckles.
Oof.
Oof, right?
Oof. Yeah. I
It
could picture that.
so just that. So then we got let go. And all of a sudden I was in my daughter was in the house too because school was closed.
Schools were closed, right?
And I realized that I no longer knew how to rest.
Mm.
I had lost the capacity to chill the hell out. I wandered around my house and I organized things. I did laundry. I like signed up for 18,000 courses. I did, this, that, the other thing. And
Mhm.
I remember wandering around my living room and just stopping for a minute and being like, what is happening to me? How can I have lost my capacity to be an animal, to be
Mhm.
a human? We need rest.
Yeah.
And at that same time, a poem came into my life, which was the end of Mary Oliver's poem, A Summer Day, which is, what will you do with your one wild and precious life? And it knocked me off my feet. I was like, I gotta get a grip. I need
Yeah.
to get back to my animal self. So I ended up doing a whole bunch of research actually around rest because that's how my brain works. I need to research it in order to be it. Um, and so in that, I learned how important it is for our bodies and brains to, to slow down,
Yeah.
to create peace, to create ease. It allows us to get into our creative thinking, into our imagining what we want in the future. It allows us better access to our instinct.
Yeah. I think for me, like I remember that. I thank you for sharing that story because that also hit a bit. It made me think about a time where more recently I had to learn how important rest was. And when you're constantly moving, like I say, like you're in a hamster wheel
Yeah.
and you're just going with the world and you're constantly moving, you don't really have a chance to sit back and say, I need to pause because no matter what, you're gonna constantly be working, you're gonna constantly have bills to pay. Like you're just thinking about what you have to do.
Yeah.
And you don't think that rest is part of what you have to do. and
Yeah.
I think we also forget that rest, shout out to my therapist for telling me this, that rest is part of your growth. Rest is part of your journey. Rest is part of you, you know, investing into yourself. That is part of it. Because when you're resting, you're also working. Like you said, when you rest, you allow yourself to use your imagination and wander and visualize and kind of listen to yourself and reflect. That
Yeah.
is work. We may not think it's work, but it's actually work and it's much needed work that we don't pay attention to because we think it's like, again, the hustle culture will teach you, and I know this because it burnt me to the core.
Yep.
It will tell you you got to keep going, you got to wake up at this point, blah blah blah. I remember I joined the 5 a.m. club and very quickly exited within a few
Okay.
months because
Yeah.
I had to get up early no matter what the case was due to my job. But at the same time, on my off day, I don't want to get up at no 5 a.m. I
Yeah.
wanted to just sleep and chill and rest. And I
Yep.
remember saying to myself, that's great they have the 5 a.m. club, but maybe I could create a 7 a.m. club because I'm comfortable waking up at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Or maybe some days I wake up at 8 at certain days, depending on what my schedule is. I'm comfortable doing that. And
Yeah.
that's when I realized it's not so much about how the hustle culture and trying to get everything. It's that self-compassion piece
Yeah.
that a lot of us don't tap into that makes us feel kind of guilty for wanting to rest. And we're allowed to. We need to.
Yeah. I mean, Your podcast, Dope Life. The
Yep.
dope life is understanding that we are animals, that we actually, like you mentioned earlier, we need rest. To be a full human and experiencing the world, we need rest, we need play.
Yeah.
We need to take care of ourselves in the what came up for me around that 5 a.m. club is like that's one of those shoulds. I should be in a 5 a.m. club because that means I'm hustling, I'm successful, I'm doing the thing. And it's those
Mhm.
shoulds that can, and I love your reframe to actually what really works for me.
Yeah.
It's
Like, what
7 a.m.
works
Feels good.
7 AM feels good for me, and I get it. 5 AM could work for
Yeah.
many people. Shout out to y'all. My
Yeah.
hat goes
We
off to
love
you.
you. Yes. So good.
But for me,
Yeah.
I will stick to, like, the 6:37, and I know I can still have a very productive day because not only am I getting up to do my routine and it's not like I have to do all this stuff, it just makes me feel good and it makes me feel good throughout the day. And
Yeah.
that's the whole purpose of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that it's common knowledge that many people just want to constantly do that hustle culture because it's normalized and it's publicized and people think that there's a book about it. I mean, I've seen it. But in the end, I'm like, do we need it?
Yeah.
You may, we may not. It's and that's the cool part about it. You get to figure that out on your own.
Yeah, I love that you just said that. That's so true. And I think for a while there when I was on the beginning of the rest journey that I was on, I was really judgy of like
Right.
hustle and the grind.
Mhm.
And and now what I'm in more is like there are times in life where you have to hustle and grind. And you have to keep your awareness on when it's time to rest and chill and play
Right.
or even bring in moments. One of the things that I really focused on because I was a super busy single mom and I actually went to go and see a nutritionist right in the middle of the madness of like single mom and being so busy. And I was like, I literally was like, I need your help. My body feels
Mm.
so bad. I am not sleeping. I am gripped all the time. And she said, you know what? You should go and take a yoga class.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, in what? When should I do that? In the like from 10 to 11 at night after I've put my baby to bed and all my work is done and like I'm done.
Right.
I'm tired. Like I felt so unheard and unseen in that moment. And actually, first of all, she would have been better to ask me like a good coaching question. But second of all, it really inspired me to figure out ways of rest that are short, that we can engage into in like 2 minutes,
Yeah.
that make a difference in our day rather than what we all kind of grew up to believe. I need to take a 2 week vacation, or I need to have
Yeah.
12 hours of sleep, or like these big things that are all great. But actually, a lot of busy people can't fit those into their lives.
And you just hit a huge nail there when you said busy people. I think as coaches ourselves, when we coach people or even mentor, people will make, and I often see it. I'm sure you have um, the suggestions that they come up with are not for people who really work 9 to 5s. They're not really tailored to those who are moving the countries or the cities that they live in. They're not really meant for the essential workers that had to work through the process of COVID.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you guys can't forget about those people because
Mhm.
those people are the most important because they're essential in many, many, industries. So you can't just say wake up at 5 because I mean, I know as a person who's worked shift work, you tell me to wake up at 5 and I've been waking up at 5 all week, it's not gonna happen. It's
Yep.
just unless I have like something I have to do, then fine. But we need
Yep.
to start tailoring what we need instead of doing the grand scheme of things. You're right. Let's break it down. And those little steps are far more effective than we think.
Yeah.
Far
Yes.
more effective.
I'm blown away. Like, I almost can't even believe it's true. I'm reading a new book. I've just got it. I heard a podcast. The book is called The Five Resets.
Okay.
And I think it's like the book that I should have written, perhaps, because what she's done is she's just taken like five things that we can do that are free in the moment to help lower our nervous systems. Because what's happening for people who have no rest, who are in burnout, they're super high in their nervous system. So they're in
Yeah.
fight or flight all of the time, which is a really hard place to be. It's, you know, and so one of the things that we know from coaching and we know from mindfulness, and that I learned again and was reminded of in this book, is like just the power of taking literally 2 minutes and breathing in nice deep breath, holding it, and
Mm,
exhaling our breath at double the time. So if I inhaled for 4, I'm exhaling
mhm.
for 8, and doing that 4 times. Our nervous
Simplistic.
systems just go, "Ooh," and, like, add in a piece around, I always ask my students, I'm like, "Just close your eyes or look down far away and go and access a memory that gives you delight, that gives you joy, and just hang out in there for a while." Because what we know is that we can do that to our brains. We can say, "Please give me something joyful and awesome."
Mhm.
And if we, mental health stuff aside, if we bring ourselves into that and remember it, again, our nervous system just starts to slow down. And that is momentary rest.
It's so crazy when you said the deep breaths. Usually at on every episode we have, we start off with 3 deep breaths. And
Okay.
in through our nose and sigh it out. And the reason why is just because like, we forget to do these type of things to just take a moment and just breathe, get rid of whatever energy we may have consumed that's just not the greatest at the moment.
Yep.
But moreover, it's just to kind of like bring you down and just make you feel calm for a moment. It is so simplistic, but so effective. I
Yeah.
have done that exercise
Yeah.
while driving a city bus. That thing right there has helped me
Yes.
time and time again. Stuck in traffic, got this to worry about, that to worry about. I would just take 3 deep breaths, especially during COVID behind a mask, and I would feel like, all right, let's go. I'm good.
Yeah.
And it took next to no seconds, like just a couple seconds. It's nothing.
It's nothing. It's
It's
free.
nothing. And it's
And
beautiful.
it's beautiful. And
It's
it's like
beautiful.
a gift, right? It's
Yeah.
like a gift to ourselves. And I think people don't believe it because it's so easy. But, just like you with your podcast, when people come into class with me, we always, at Candidate Coach, we always are like, okay, let's just take a second to get present. And
Yeah.
that first breath that you take, people realize that they actually haven't had a deep breath all day. They've been on.
Yep. You're
And so that,
clenched.
yeah,
Yeah, you're clenched. And I even sometimes I'll tell people, "Hey, unclench your jaw," and they're like, "Wait, what?" I'm like,
right.
"Unclench your jaw,"
Hmm.
and they're like, "Whoa, I didn't even." Yep, I know that
Yeah.
because our face is constantly being used. So sometimes we don't remember like how just simply unclenching your jaw makes you feel at ease and makes you feel I don't know, like I guess really really good, but at the same time just brings on a sense of calmness and removes that anxiety portion of that. Um
Can I ask you a
Being that
question?
yeah, Bo, go ahead.
Okay,
I
I
love
am
that.
curious around for you, you
Yeah,
were in burnout.
yeah.
What was like the one thing, if there was a one thing that you would advise, yeah, that you would
Hmm.
advise other people to explore or be in? Like, what was the most helpful thing for you?
So there's a few things that actually helped me the most. Um, the biggest one was sleep. Working the job I did, it's physically exhausting. So I slept. Man, I went from sleeping, 6 to 7 hours to 10 hours for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was confused. But then I
Mm.
realized, "Oh, okay, I'm replenishing from all those months where I had lost a chunk of sleep.
Yeah.
Um, and then the second thing I would say is sit in silence for at least 10 minutes. Another free tip: if you just sit in silence for a moment and just hear nothing, no sound, no beep, put your phone on, do not disturb, and
Mhm.
just take that allow your mind to wander, be still. You will find yourself um far more calmer than you could ever feel, but also there could be something that you've been ignoring that comes to surface.
Yeah.
And the last one, which I would say has legit saved my life, it's a mix of two, is writing out your thoughts. I say writing out your thoughts versus journaling because I know some people, they think of journaling, they're like, well, I don't want to do that. I'm like, just grab a piece of paper, write out whatever thought you have on your brain right that moment. You'll
Yeah.
be able to release so much stress and anxiety by
Yep.
just saying what you have. And if you want to keep it, by all means, but if you don't, throw it out, rip it up, burn it, whatever you want to do,
Yep.
discard it, but also let that energy go when you do that. Those were the 3 I would say that was also free again, helped me the absolute most when I was going through burnout. And of course, like therapy was
Yeah.
was the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
But those are the 3 that I did on my own that just made me instantly feel better, like instantly.
All of those resound so deeply with me as well.
Yeah.
So deeply with me. Do you know in one of the Nordic countries, Sweden or Norway, you get a psychologist. You every year
Mm.
you get to go to a psychologist for free. And I would love for us to have a society of people who just get to go to therapy to work out their stuff, even if it's only just 3 times a year. It's
Even if
so good. So everybody who is thinking about going to a therapist and hasn't quite done that yet, go find an awesome therapist because it really
yeah,
is a life changer, right? It's a huge life changer.
it's
Yeah,
again, shout out to both my I had 2 so far in my life, and, shout out to both of them. They've taught me more about, and it's crazy, I fully took a psych class in college, so I knew a bit, but it's different when you're in the midst of it.
yeah,
Like, I was in burnout, aware of burnout, but not paying attention to my own symptoms of burnout,
yeah,
and they both have told me the biggest line that always gets to me is just be kind to yourself. And I don't think we do that very much in our society. We're very hard on each other. We're trying to always compare, and we're always trying to reach to whatever status that is created. But
yeah,
this is why I say part of living your dope life is living your authentic life, however you see it, however you want to live it and love it, because it's important for you to live your authentic life to the point of where you're just like, I don't care about what other people say or think. I'm happy
yeah,
and I got joy and I got peace and I got love, so I'm good. And
yeah.
when you have that, you could just say, "I'm okay.
Yes.
I'm blessed. I'm grateful. I'm okay."
Yep,
That's a different feeling that therapy, other coaches I've worked with, and all the work I've done myself. So anyone out there right now, I want you also to understand, myself and Kelly could both contest to say we're not this way by just rolling over at like one night and it just happened.
yep,
Um, many years of obviously internal work
yep,
and still doing the work because
yep,
life is still lifing. It still
yep,
comes at us. People are still people and they still come at us. But at
yeah,
the end of the day, it's just when you start doing the work, it's honoring and loving yourself to the point where you will never want to go back and you'll never want to take a step back. And I just wanted to add that part in because
yeah,
some people could say, well, these are 2 coaches telling me this. And I get that, but we're still human.
yeah.
We are still human. We still go through whatever life throws at us. And it's just we just got some tools along the way that helps us tackle it. That's literally we tackle a little bit faster, if that, now compared to if we were to tackle it before.
Yeah, I think that's so important to say, and I think, um, you know, working with client like, this is part of the most beautiful part of coaching,
Yeah.
is clients who come in the door and they say, "I'm so hard on myself. I'm so mean to myself. I'm so busy. I have all these shoulds. I don't know who I am. I don't know where I'm going." and knowing that we can help that person or support that person or create and
Mhm.
co-create with that person to relax into just what it is that they want to create for themselves and to be in
Exactly.
that authentic space. Like what a cool job we have.
What a cool gift, I gotta say, what a cool gift,
Yeah.
definitely. Kinda going back a bit, you talked about at the beginning that, you're a mom. Like, how have you been able to embrace rest yourself in, like, different stages of your life? And what advice could you give, other mothers or mompreneurs like yourself out there that trying to, like, balance rest as a priority more nowadays?
I think one of the things that is like the most interesting learning, I think it's about exploring and experimenting and playing with different kinds of rest.
Right.
So we have always gone through our lives being like, there's only one kind of rest, and that's sleep.
Yeah.
But actually, in the research, there's 7 different kinds of rest. And
Okay.
we all rest differently. So I have a client, um, journaling and yoga for her are too slow. That's not restful for her. She really revs up and her body's uncomfortable. She rests actually by going out for long walks in the woods with her dog
Okay.
or, riding her bike or surfing. Those are things that she can do where her whole body just comes into alignment, when her brain just slows down and quiets down. And so I think it's really about like what rest works for you, and know that if you have other people in your house,
Mhm.
that your way of rest and their way of rest are different, and that's okay.
100%.
It's totally okay. I have other clients, one woman, and she rests by doing. So she'll go and just clean her car, and she just turns off her brain and she's just moving her limbs and cleaning her car, and it feels good for her. And her partner likes to watch Netflix. So
Okay.
she tried to sit down and watch Netflix with him because that was restful for him. And she was like coming out of her skin because it was so unrestful for her. And so I just think that when people understand that there's different kinds of rest that you
Yeah.
will naturally pull towards, don't judge it. Give that gift to yourself of whatever kind of rest that might be. Um, and I loved your idea around like a moment of stillness.
Yeah.
Just be still and and allow for that thought that you've been like, not you, not you, not you, not you, not you, to come in and
Yeah.
just see it, feel it, breathe it out. It's
Mhm.
only 10 minutes. And then you can put it back away. If that's what you need to do, put it back away. Or maybe it emerges and you can do something with it that's really helpful. And I think for moms or really busy parents, and this is hard to do, it's learning that it's okay to rest.
Mm.
It's okay. In fact, you're human and you need to rest, and you are better and more imaginative and more creative and more in your gut and your heart and more patient
Mm. Mhm.
if you just rest. Um and I know that that's so frustrating for people to hear because they're like just like me when someone told me to take a yoga class and I was like literally,
Like, no, that's not it.
oh,
Yeah, like, that really? I
yeah,
coulda Googled that myself.
yeah, 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 yeah. But it is like just like you and I have been talking about, it's these small moments. It's um being able to communicate with your kids from a really young age. Hey, I need 10 minutes. And if I get my 10 minutes, I'm going to be so much more relaxed and peaceful. But I need my 10 minutes. So you go up to your room, watch TV, you play with a thing, and then it gives them permission to do the same thing to you.
Yeah.
Right? And so my daughter is very happy to say, "I'm super grumpy. If you even look at me in the wrong direction, I'm going to explode. And so I just need my own time. And I'm like, great, take that time. We need to share with our kids what we need. It's okay. It's okay to do
Say
that.
that say that one more time so the people can hear,
Yeah.
please.
We
Say that one
need
more time.
to communicate with the people around us and our kids. We need to tell them what we need. It's okay. It's okay to do that. And it teaches them to do the same thing as they get
Yes.
older.
Amen. That
Yeah.
yep. I I 150% agree with you. I think it's important. We got like if you think about it, like we are our parents' like own little carbon copy to some degree, right? We learn from them, and then we figure it out as we become older, and
Yeah.
we take what we. It's almost like take a penny, leave a penny. We take what we need, and we take what works, and so on and so forth. But you hit on something that I'm very like a huge supporter on, which is meeting yourself where you are at no matter what chapter or book you are at.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
because again, life's going to change. We're going to go through different modes. But sometimes even as parents, you're allowed to say, "Look, I just need like 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes. Let me finish this. Let me just do this." My partner's great with that. She communicates it. The kids say, "All right, cool." They'll
Yep.
go off, do something else.
Yep.
And I just couldn't help but think if my mama had told me that, like if she needed those 10 minutes, I would have given it to her. I don't know if she ever did. She probably did
Yeah.
many times.
Yeah.
I would have totally said, "All right, no problem." And I would have left.
Yeah.
Take your 10 minutes. Take your
Yep.
whatever you need.
Yep.
And I think that's important. We got to start communicating to the people that are around us that we live with
Yep.
what our needs are. Nobody is a mind reader.
And it's setting our kids
No
for so much success as
success when
they
they're
go
older.
world and say, "Hey, listen, friend, listen, teacher, listen, my new partner, my new boyfriend, whatever it is. Um,
Mhm.
this is what I need right now."
Yeah,
I didn't have that language when I grew up.
neither did I.
It took me a lot of therapy to get to the point where I'm like, "That's not okay, but I do need this." Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of, we need to I know it's uncomfortable. I can speak on, like, my parents are fairly older, so sometimes explaining them to now is
Mhm.
35, like, "Hey, I kinda need to do this and stuff." They're a lot more understanding now because they're retired. They're a lot more chill, but at the same time,
Yeah.
um, it's that moment of, "Okay," and they understand now, but let's say if this was 20 years ago? Oh god, no. 10 years ago? Mm-mm.
Yeah.
They that would be the sign of, like, disrespect, right? So
Yeah.
it's more of, "Okay, we're communicating," and I think that's the healthy part of it. Touching on, like, parenting, I know you have, like, a new program that's coming out. Why don't you tell the people a little bit about it?
Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited. I have developed a course called Parent as Coach,
Okay.
and it's teaching parents just fundamental coaching skills to create deeper and richer relationships with their kids.
Cool, cool.
Oh, it's so cool. It's like
Yeah, it sounds
literally
lovely.
the work that again that I'm meant to do in the world as a single mom, as a coach, and as an educator, like the Venn diagram has happened, and I'm right in the middle of it. And
Yeah.
so I have been working on it for like 6 years, but I've always been so busy. And I've been talking about it for years. And then a friend of mine, actually, we were out for a walk and she's like, "So, you gonna get that done?"
Ooh,
And I was like, "Maybe." And she's like, "I'll be your accountability buddy." And she, like, you don't step into that relationship lightly with this woman.
ooh.
And so, yeah, so she supported me to get it done. And I've just run the pilot of it. It's 8 weeks, 2 hours
Nice.
a week. There's some homework and some reading to do. And it's like creating community of parents. It was mostly women, um, to come together and learn the fundamental coaching skills, the fundamentals of emotional intelligence,
Mhm.
and to talk about values and what values we really want to be in as parents. And so it's insanely awesome. Like, I can't believe I've created a course that is this good. It creates community and it gives parents really good skills. And so the fundamental um, coaching skills, as you know, are curiosity. How do we use deep curiosity with our kids to empower them to live the lives that they want? Listening. How do we like actually listen?
Yeah.
Right? How do we actually listen so our kids feel seen and heard? How do we ask open ended questions, especially with those kids who are yes nos? Like, you know, or goods, like, how was your day? Good. Do you want to do this thing? Yes. Open questions are like, what was your experience in that? What else can you say about it?
What yeah, what was good about your day?
What was good about your day? Which allows one of my participants actually, she has a kid who's a very yes no kid, and she started using open-ended questions, and she emailed me and she was like, all of a sudden I know that my son wants he loved going to France, but he thought that there were ghosts there, and he wants to open Duncan's Burger Shack. And
Ooh,
she was like, I never would have known that in a million years had I not used open questions. So acknowledgments, just acknowledging our kids for who they are, not what they accomplish, and staying out of advice when it's right. Just allowing our kids to come up with their own good aligned answers and then being really supportive of those instead of always jumping in with like, this is what you should do.
'cause I think that's a when you said this is what you should do, I think we could both say we kinda grew up around it a little bit.
Yeah.
And that era, it was more of like, "Well, I'm doing this for your betterment. I'm doing
Yep.
this for your betterment. I'm doing this for your." And then trust me, I'm sure that was behind it as well. Like, I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
Um, but there's some moments it's like, "But can I do what I want? Like, is
Yeah.
that okay? Am I okay to figure some stuff out?" And I will say my mother really taught me very similar to what you're saying, to explore. And
Mm.
did I have a fear behind it? Oh, of course. Everyone has a fear when you're trying to figure stuff out. But in giving me that little bit of curiosity that she did give me,
Yep.
it allowed me to start asking those questions as a kid. Like, well, why is this such and such? Well, how could we do this? Well, where can we find this? Well, how could this happen if this is, and I guess in a nutshell, that kind of created me becoming a coach because I wanted to know more and more and more. So I think that your program is awesome. Like what stood out for me is the emotional intelligence piece.
Hmm.
That is beyond important for us as adults
Yep.
and for kids to learn that piece as well. Because I didn't learn that until
No.
many years later. But if you can
Well,
learn pieces of that as you're growing, I think that's huge.
it's huge. And, in a lot of corporate spaces and teams that I work with, they're in their 50s and 60s. They
Hmm.
were 40s even.
Hmm.
We all were never taught emotional intelligence skills because the
No.
science wasn't even there. Like, it only emerged in the late 90s or the early 90s.
Hmm.
And so now I am working with the parents around creating their emotional intelligence, their ability to define what they are feeling,
Yeah.
what's going on for them, and then they can communicate it out and the power around that. And so teaching the parents then allows them to model that with their kids. And we talk about, how you can take this learning and pass it on to your kids. But it starts with the parents.
It's yeah. Yeah, I think that's absolutely wonderful. Also, I just want to say shout out to your friend. I love friends like those. I'd be like, look, what you doing about such and such? I got a few actually. All of them energy wise, one's a Scorpio,
Yeah.
one's a Taurus, and my partner's a Cancer. So like when I tell you those three women, when you tell them, hey, I've been working on this. Like, all right, so what you gonna do? Huh?
Yeah. It's serious. Like it's no bullshit.
Huh?
Yeah.
No bullshit.
Yeah.
Like my partner is straight up like, "All right, so I heard you mentioned such and such the other day. So like, how's it going?" I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, totally. And you're like,
"Huh? Well."
yeah, yeah. So she'll
Shout
reply
out to those people for real.
and I will call out her name, Lexi.
Shout
Um,
out to Lexi.
Shout out to Lexi. Yeah, I mean, the program wouldn't be here if it wasn't for really, if it wasn't for her. So, yeah.
And also, I want to touch on people out there. Understand what Kelly said. 6 years. She worked on this for 6 years. A lot
Yeah,
of us, we see things and we're like, hey, look, I want to do this in 3 months. Maybe it's just, it needs to be seasoned just a little bit more.
yeah,
Maybe you just need to just work on it just a little bit more. It doesn't mean that you could do trial and error, don't get me wrong, but you don't, and not everything needs to be done so quickly.
yeah.
Right? Not everything needs to be done so quickly. So last but not least question, Kelly, I ask everybody this question. What makes you feel the most dope?
Okay. I cannot tell you how much I love this question.
Everyone usually does.
So good because, like, the dope life, like, it's not a good life. It's dope. Like, what there's so much heart and, like, love and goodness and groundedness in that word for me. So what makes so ask the question again. So I got it.
What I know everyone I swear everybody always gets kind of caught up on this. What
Yeah.
makes you feel dope? So what makes Kelly feel good? Dope.
Yeah. It's my work.
Hmm.
It is being a coach. It is working with Parent as Coach. It's teaching with Canada Coach Academy. It's mentoring. It's
Me.
because because it has such impact on people. It's transformational. And I'm just like, how is it possible that I get to do this in my life? Um, it makes me feel grounded. It makes me feel on purpose. It makes me feel connected. It's like authentic. That is like the dopest of the dope. And then, of course, like hanging out with my daughter and being close to her and just riding the waves of life with her. Yeah.
That definitely sounds dope. When you
Yeah.
mentioned mentor, I just kind of put my hand up because you definitely helped me while I was going through the coaching academy, and I just want to say thank you for also meeting between you and Kate. Shout out to Kate as well.
Okay.
Um, for real, and you guys both met me where I was at with all the years of experience I had, and the fear of me. Just working through what I was working through, and you guys helped me a ton. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I thank you a lot. I also want to say thank you for hopping on today's podcast and taking the time. I truly appreciate that.
Yeah.
Um, and I hope I can have you back on if you're up
Yes.
for it.
I would
All
love that. I
right.
would love
Cool.
that. And I got to tell you, AJ, it is my honor, and I'll speak for Kate too. It is our honor to have you now in the circle, in the community of coaches. You're pretty freaking awesome. And so it is really our honor and mine to be on the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So go ahead. Don't forget to subscribe. Oh, before I forget, Kelly, where can they find you on what are your posts, social medias, all of that good stuff?
So the best place to go is kellywoodcoaching.com.
All right.
Super.
I'm gonna tag it in the description as well.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So that's my website. And then Kellywood Life Design is my Insta.
Cool. So you guys go ahead, check out Kelly.
Thank you.
Again, as I was about to say, I hope y'all enjoyed the episode, another Dope Life podcast episode. Go ahead and screenshot this episode, add it to your IG stories, and tag us in it at Dope Life Pod or at my handle at Dope Life Coach _. We would greatly appreciate it. As always, I will see you next week. And yo, you know what's best. Walk with peace, walk with love.